such a bad guy, why am I ending up here? That's when that light appeared. And I looked up at it. It looked like a star far off in the night sky. Something so tiny and insignificant and far away that it couldn't possibly help me. And then I saw it moved off to the left a little bit, and I picked my eyes up, and my head up, and I looked at it, and I thought to myself, did we just change direction, or did it move? And it went back to the right, and I thought for myself, no, for certain, we didn't change direction, it moved. And I thought to myself, well, what is that? And as I thought that, and began to focus in on it, it just came rushing at me like the only way I can describe it is the speed of this thing was like a bolt of lightning. It came at me so fast that one moment it was just like a tiny little star in the night sky, and the next minute, white, bright, blinding white light. And his hand was reaching down to me, and it was an angel. It's all right. And my hand just reached up and grabbed its hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm going to reach up there and grab his hand, and this hand is going to save me, because that's all that I saw was just a hand. But my hand knew what to do. It was like having a baseball thrown at your head. Somebody says heads up, and you just reach up and grab it. It's a reflex. My hand just reflects, and a reflex just jumped up and grabbed this angel's hand. And as soon as I touched its hand, we were all motionless and all standing back up on this ground that you can't see. And this beast, this demon, it still had me by the shoulder. It was kind of almost even leaned over a little bit to grab me by the shoulder. And I could instinctively, I knew to stand still, because if I had moved, I know that would have ripped my shoulder and my arm off at the same time and just beat me with it. I mean, the thing was just that massively strong. I knew within me there was something telling me, don't move. And I'm just standing there staring up, looking at this angel. And the angel itself, to describe it for you, was 9 feet 6 inches tall. It had brown wavy hair pushed to the back. It had an olive color skin. It wasn't really white, wasn't really black, it was somewhere in between, but the light that was emanating from within it was so bright white that it almost practically overshadowed the color of its skin. You couldn't even really, you had to stare to see the color of its skin. And I keep saying it because it's an it. It's not really a he or a she. Although the body is shaped like a he. Okay, it's shaped like a male. When you look at its face, the face is like the most handsome man that you've ever seen, blended in perfectly with the most beautiful woman that you've ever seen. I mean, when you look at this angel, you think to yourself, wow, he is beautiful. And I know that's some odd words to say. In the English vernacular, the male is known as handsome and the female is known as beautiful. But this angel was absolutely beautiful. There's no other words for it. And its eyes were blue, and when I mean blue, I mean perfect blue, like someone took a portion of the sky and put it in its eyes, or dipped a cup out of the ocean and poured it into its eye. There was no flaw in it, no flaw. Perfectly beautiful in all ways. Other than its face looking like the cross between a man and a woman, and I don't mean like, oh, is it Pat? No. I mean just beautiful. It was completely shaped like a man. You could see it's underneath its white robe. It had chest and it had strong arms. It had an Adam's apple. I mean, it was every bit shaped like a man, and a strong one. I mean, just strong, but not like overly ridiculous like this. It wasn't bodybuilder, it was more like fitness trainer strong. It wasn't like bodybuilder strong where it just had muscles popping out of everywhere it shouldn't have been, like this demon. But you could tell it was, this angel was there to fight. And he had on a white robe. It was cut down in a V in the front with gold lace. I guess, I don't even know what to call it. Like embroidered gold around the edges of its collar. And not lace, but embroidered gold. And the sleeves came just below the elbows. And this robe was kind of like a white Roman tunic robe. I guess that would be the best way of putting it. And it came just below its knees. So its knees and its elbows were covered. And I was just so blown away by the beauty of it that I didn't even really check to see if it had any shoes on or not. I don't really remember. All I know is it was big. Not as quite as big as the demon, but big enough. And I'm looking up at it, and I'm just blown away by its brightness and its beauty. And at the same time, I'm just frozen in place, because I know that if I move this thing, it's going to rip my shoulder off and just beat me with my arm. And this thing, I can feel its anger, this demon's anger, like heat from a fire. And it turns around like this to see what had stopped it and why. It wanted to know what had stopped it and why. Because technically I was right where I belonged. And once you're there in hell, you don't normally get a chance to leave. So it owned me like a piece of furniture, like your car. It owned me, and it wanted to know why it was being stopped. So it turned around and was ready to fight. Make no mistake, this demon was ready to get down in the worst way. But as it whipped around, this angel its speed was incredible, and it just rushed forward and with an open palm hit this demon, and it had to angle its arm upwards at about the height of its head to hit this demon in the chest. And it hit this demon with such power. I mean, I can't describe the fierceness of the power of this thing, but it hit this demon with such force that its hand was literally ripped from my shoulder. It had no clue what had hit it. By the time it had even turned its head, it was already hit. And this demon was hit with such force that it literally folded up and started flying backwards, folded in half like this, flying backwards. And I'm just watching it fly backwards and skip off this ground that you can't see, like a stone over water. And this angel looked at me and he called me by a long name, and I immediately understood it to be mine. It was a heavenly name. But as soon as it called me this name, it took it from my mind. It called me this name to let me know that, more or less, that I still have a chance to make it into heaven. You know, like, I have a heavenly name. I squandered it. I wasted it. And if this had been my ultimate time, my last breath, for real, that's where I would have stayed. But when he called me this long name, it was a feeling of home. You know, like when your mom calls you for dinner or supper, however you want to say it, and you know that it's time to go in and eat, and you're all happy, you know, because you just stayed outside playing forever, you know, and you're about to go in and sit with your family. It was like that. You know, it was a feeling of home. And it looked at me and it began to speak to me, and its voice was like a waterfall. If a waterfall could speak, it was like a rushing sound in your ears, like Sean. And I understood later on that it was converting my understanding to understand its language. It didn't descend down to my broken language of English. It elevated me up to understand its language. It messed with my mind, for lack of better words, but it elevated my understanding. And he looks at me and he says, "Hello, my name is Michael." And I immediately knew that this was the Archangel of the Bible that spoke of the Archangel Michael. And I can tell you for certain, I've seen them both. I've seen the Archangel and I've seen Jesus, and they look nothing alike. And they are not the same being. But anyway, he said, he began to speak to me, but I got distracted by this demon that had gotten back up and was coming back after me. It was coming back to get me. And it was coming back to fight this angel for my soul. And so I turned back because I knew that it was coming. I'm sorry. So it was, this angel was still talking to me, so I wasn't really listening to it. I was too focused in on this thing, and it was getting bigger. It was running back after me, and it was getting faster, and it was getting bigger, so it was coming back after me, you know, from this great distance that this angel hit it. And so I looked back at him like, whatever you got to say, please just hurry up and say it, and if you're going to get me out of here, please get me out of here. You know, and this is what I was literally thinking. You know, and he just looked at me and he gave me a saddened look, and he looked at me and he just goes, "Your time has not yet come. It's time for you to go." And he points his finger, and when I stepped in that direction, my soul immediately went back to my body. Just as fast as I had appeared in this place, I left this place, and I was back in my body, laying on that cot where I knew I should have, my eyes opened. And it took me a good 20 minutes to get to walking again, simply because my entire body had fallen asleep. And I'm almost certain that after having been dead for 8 minutes, that there must have been angels there jump starting everything in my body again, because there would have been no blood flowing anywhere.